Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nicoll.
Thank you so much for dropping in on Series 12. Now I'm back to uncover the stories behind the scene moments of Team Canada's journey to Paris 2024. We've had some amazing guests on this series sharing their stories and how they've prepared for Paris 2024. From July 26th to August 11th, 2024, the Olympic Games will be in Paris. And from August 28th to September 8th, the para games will be happening. We've had both para as well as able-bodied athletes on this series, and it's been amazing. Now they will be competing in Paris for Team Canada, and we've had some amazing support staff behind the scenes as well. So join me as we dive into the heart of the action in series 12 of Dropping In. Now, let me share with you, this is episode 109, and it is currently Sunday, July 7th, 2024. Let me introduce the guest that we'll be dropping in with today. This guest has been recognized as one of the most influential women in sport, the most influential people in sport, the top 100 women in Canada, and was the recipient of the Leadership in Sports Award at the 36th Canadian Sport Awards. She was a promising track athlete before a devastating car accident ended her athletic career at age 19. She's a successful artist and saw a need to support Canadian athletes and created a non-for-profit organization. Most of the Canadian athletes you've heard on this podcast, including myself, have benefited from this amazing woman. My competitive snowboard career would not have survived 4 Olympics without her help. She's raised funds and directly supported 80% of Canadian athletes who've competed at Olympic and Paralympic Games, in Athens to Pyeongchang, and to date has raised over $40 million. Yes, that's jaw-dropping. This friend, mother, wife, influential woman in sport, award winner, artist, is one of my favorite people. I'm so happy to have drop in Jane Roos.
Hi, Mercedes.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Now, it's funny because you're not currently an athlete, but the impact you have on the athletes is just outstanding. So I thought you were a perfect fit for this series because I wanted to give a look of yes, the athletes and how they're training, but also behind the scenes of what it's like at the games. And most of the athletes wouldn't be able to go to the games without your help. So thank you so much. It gives me goosebumps talking about you. You do so much for the athletes. So thank you so much for dropping in today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's exciting times right now with Paris so close.
Right? Okay, before we get into that, we always do a rapid fire 10 questions that you've never seen before, and they're just fun so that the guests get to know you a little bit more. Are you ready to drop in?
I'm ready.
Okay, number 1. What is the favorite piece of art that you've ever created?
My favorite piece of art, I think, it was for a 40th wedding anniversary. I was commissioned, and the gentleman had written his wife all through their courtship love notes.
Okay.
And he gave me all the love notes, and I put it on a canvas for them. And it was huge. It was like 40 by 60. And I got to go to the day of the installation, and it was put into their main foyer. And I was kind of hiding behind, and she walked in, and she looked at all the writing and the colors, and she just broke out into tears. And to this day, she says it's her favorite piece of art. And yeah, those kind of personal pieces that I do, it's just so impactful because words create memories.
I love that. Oh, it's like bringing a tear to my eye. That's so romantic and beautiful.
Very romantic. And he had all his quotes that he's gave her in a box from over the years. I know.
Okay, so men can be romantic. Sweet. Good to know.
Thoughtful, romantic, yes.
Yes. Okay, number 2. What's the most memorable moment from your time as a track athlete?
Oh, that's easy. It was OFSA, so the provincials in Ontario. My
Okay.
dad was a bit of a workaholic. I think that's where I get it from. And I went to the track meet, and he'd come to my meets, but not um, like he just, it was in Toronto. So we were living in Ottawa. It was provincials. And I asked him if he would come, and he said yes. And he came on the bus, the school bus, to Toronto.
Oh,
We stayed in the same hotel together, and I ended up winning 3 gold medals at that provincials.
oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and he was there, and because I had so many points individually, I actually won the division for my high school, the overall trophy.
Okay.
So my dad came onto the field and gave me roses, and then he just sat with me all the way back to Ottawa, and we just talked, and it was my moment that I'll always remember with him in track, because my dad died really young at 67.
Okay.
So that was probably my favorite moment, just having him there and seeing, and then all the hard work paying off. So yeah.
I love that. Oh, it's so sweet. And it's really nice at that young age that you were excited to have your dad there, because I know that's like a challenging time in people's lives to have parents watch. You're like, Dad, you're not cool. Don't come here. That's
Oh no,
really
yeah, no,
sweet.
I was the I wanted my
You
dad.
wanted your dad there. I love that.
He is I love my, yeah.
That's sweet. Okay, number 3, what inspired you to start your non-for-profit organization? Which I actually haven't even named yet. So,
Can Fund.
Can
Um,
Fund.
Can Fund was started actually in a hospital room. I had my second back operation after my car accident, and I was bored, and my roommate had survived, called her a roommate because we were there for a while, a brain aneurysm. So we got the nurses involved, and we started faxing out companies saying, we're going to do a fundraiser. We don't know what it's for, but we promise it would be good. And I got out the night before the actual date, and the date of the fundraiser, we raised 40,000. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to help a few athletes. I think this would be, I just knew how hard it was for Canadian athletes to succeed, and kind of thinking like entrepreneurs need seed money. And I'm really big about supporting success.
Yeah.
So the cause that really aligned with me was helping people achieve their dreams, like being part of that journey.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. A lot can happen from a hospital bed when you got
Yeah,
time on your hands.
exactly. Get a lot of time on our hands.
Number 4, who's been your biggest influence?
That's kind of tricky. I don't know if there's one person. I feel like different people, like I feel like your life is chapters, and I feel like different people have come into different chapters in my life. Like obviously early on, my coaches and my parents, and then I think I don't know. I feel like I've really been lucky. I probably have about 10 people in my life who have really kind of out of the blue too, like not people you would think, like almost strangers in the beginning. And for some reason we connected, and they've been really instrumental in either teaching me, how to run a charity, or how to be like, just giving you insight. So I'd say there's about 10 people who have really been instrumental, like, and really kind of been the people I lean on.
I love that. It's kind of good to keep like a close net, like group of people that are your core people too, I think.
Yeah, and they've stayed close. Like
Yeah.
I'm very much about gratitude and thank you notes, and being very grateful for them. So I
Amazing.
feel like that's been I just feel really blessed.
Aw. Well, you're just a great human. I don't even have words for it. Number 5, what's one word, this might be tricky, to describe your journey from athlete to advocate?
Magic.
I knew you. Yeah, that's so funny, because I was like, oh, I wonder what she's gonna say, and then I was like, magic. Of
It's
course,
magic.
magic.
It's magic.
Yes.
Every day. It's magic.
So good. Because that's like one of your taglines, isn't it? And that's what you end your emails, and yeah, I love that. Number 6, favorite success story from an athlete that you've supported. I don't know how you're gonna choose one because you've helped so many athletes, but is there like an encompassing kind of thing? Maybe this is where you share how you, like, tell the athletes that they're gonna get the funding.
Yeah, I think, over the years, there's been so many, like we've helped over 8,000 athletes now. And I feel like in the very beginning, when Can Fund was just growing, like we helped 244 of the 266 that went to Athens.
Mhm.
And, I was really in the thick of it. I'm still in the thick of it, but there's moments. I think there's a lot of athletes that have surprised me because sometimes when you talk to an athlete, you can see greatness in them before they see it in themselves. And I think the
Ah,
coach, through their coaching, installs that all the time. But I feel like as a person who's donating funding to them and investing in them, it's
yeah.
a different kind of um, impact on them. Like a lot of the athletes have shared over the years, like Can Fund and getting money from us. We give each athlete now $8,000 twice a year. They said getting Can Fund means that you've kind of hit a certain level, and
Oh.
you've become part of this huge family of athletes.
Yeah.
But there's also this sense of someone believing in you.
Yes.
And I feel like for a lot of athletes, um, it's pretty lonely. And I think,
Mhm.
like I've had athletes who we've helped, like, obviously Christine St. Clair, when she was, coming into like in 2011, we did $12 for 2012 with her. She called me up. She said, there's 11 players on the field. My number's 12. What if I do $12 for 2012 to help all the athletes in Canada? I love the athletes that see the bigger picture. They want to help
Right.
everyone. And it's
Yeah.
hard. And because you're so tunneled and you're in such a like environment of wanting to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
But, and then Claire Hughes, she gave her funding back. A lot of athletes, after they've succeeded, will give their funding back to pay it
Mhm.
forward.
Mhm.
So there's just so many stories. I don't know if I could pick one. I think calling Tracy Cameron, she was a rower just before the World Championships. I called her and got her on a hotel. Like she called me back and we're on a hotel, like in the lobby of a hotel.
Yeah, yeah,
And she's like, I have $5 and like whatever cents in the bank. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, we're going to fund you today. And she's just crying in the
I know.
lobby. And I was just like, oh, and then she went on the next day to win the World Championship. So
Ah.
I think when you invest in people and help make their dreams more achievable, I
Mhm.
don't think most Canadians, even our donors, understand the impact
Mhm.
it's actually making.
That's true. Oh, I get goosebumps just hearing about
Uh-huh.
those stories because when I got my calls, I, like, was also crying. It's just so impactful, and thank you to all the donators and all the athletes that, help support you as well. Well, no, this is a good one. Number 7, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Um, Focus on your why.
Ah.
I collect 10 no's a day. I love no. I love asking for money, but focus on your why. I always say bad neighborhood, good neighborhood. And if you're playing in your heart, no matter what, it will always work out.
Bad neighborhood in your head, good
Good
neighborhood
neighbor in your
in
heart.
your heart.
Live in your
Okay.
heart, get out of your head, because your head, most people are in their own way, right? So I think if you can get out
Yes.
of your own way, so I think the best, um, I'm
Oh
kind
my
of
gosh, I really
sensitive.
like that. I
So
really
I
like
think I've
that.
had to like get a bit stronger, um, and not take things personally sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just really focus on the why. Like, why am I here to help people succeed? Okay, got it. Clear.
Yes. Oh, okay, that's so good. That's really good advice. I like that. Number 8, what do you enjoy most about being an artist?
Um, I kind of get lost in my paintings. I feel like
Mhm.
running a charity and constantly asking for money,
Yeah.
which again, I love doing. I feel like the athletes give so much to our country. So me going out there and asking people to give to part of their journey is easy.
Mhm.
Um, I think when I'm painting, I get lost. I think there's something about, they're just such different worlds. And I feel like there's something about, like I have a gallery in Toronto and it's been here since '08. And, when you have your art up and someone walks in and falls in love with it, and then they want to go and hang it in their house or their
Yeah.
office or wherever. I think it's just really, I don't know if the word's gratifying. I just feel, I just love to escape in my art. It's my like peace of mind time.
For sure. I feel like, because I paint too, is like you kind of
Yeah.
get in this zone, right?
Yeah.
And like it's almost like being an athlete where you get in the zone being an athlete, you get in the zone doing art, and you're just like, what did I just create? And you create beautiful art. So thank you so
Oh, thanks.
much.
I think when you like, I can paint for 3 hours and it feels like half an hour,
Yeah, because
right?
you
Like
love it.
yeah, you just escape, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Brilliant. Brilliant. This is a fun one. Number 9, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh wow. I don't, we've done this question at dinners and stuff. I mean, I'd love to fly. I think flying and being like a bird would be amazing.
Yeah.
I also think I wouldn't want to read people's thoughts. I think that would be not great.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be invisible and hang out and,
No.
I think, okay, if I could have a superpower, I would like to be able to give each person I met the ability to see themselves how I see them.
Oh,
Like, I'd like to make everybody see their greatness. That's what
I
my
love.
superpower would be. So then they'd, you know, I
Yeah,
think we,
because you know what? I was working at RBC and everyone's like, "Oh, well, you're so confident." And I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing." And then it's how other people perceive you. It's very different than you do see yourself. So that is a cool superpower.
I think that's what I would do.
That's cool. All right, number 10, the last one. Are you ready for it?
Yes, got it. I'm sorry, I'm not that rapid.
They're not
Long
no, they're
answers.
they're never rapid. That's the whole point. It's great. I shouldn't even call them rapid fire. They're just like fun questions. Number 10, what motivates you every day to continue your work in supporting athletes?
The athletes, by far.
Yeah.
Every time we find an athlete and I hear their story, um, I love that every athlete doesn't have a plan B, that they're just going for it. They're just out there wanting to
Mhm.
represent their country. Um, I got a little lost in the asks in 2019, I found, and we did uh, across Canada tour. And like with CanFund, there's only 7 of us that work here and we don't
Yeah.
get government funding. So I feel like I was just getting like, it just was a bit of a grind for a
Mhm.
while.
Mhm.
And so I went out and we went out to the East Coast. And I mean, Ellie Black Gymnastics has been a multiple Can Fund recipient, but I've never met her. So I met her. And then we went early to Lake Banook and saw the paddlers with their, their flashlight thing, their headlights on their head, paddling in the water,
Amazing.
and went to Quebec and to Vancouver and Victoria. So I think when I am connected with the athletes more, like in person,
Yeah.
I feel I really get it. I mean, I always get it, but sometimes you just need to be closer to the action, like the stories themselves, meeting the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, for sure. I agree because when I met you and saw the passion inside of you, it was also inspiring. So it's fabulous. Rapid fire complete.
Yay.
Loved it. Love your work. Let's talk about some of the athletes that you have helped over the years. So remind me when Can Fund started.
Well, we like coming out of the hospital, I would just do big fundraisers in like um, bars, like galas, right? In
Yeah.
the beginning. In 2003, Can Fund got charitable status, and that was a
Okay.
game changer. I remember I got charitable status. I went to a bar by myself called Two Cats in Toronto. I'm
Yeah.
at the bar having a cocktail, and the bartender's like, "What are you celebrating? Like all by yourself?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Charitable status." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "If you give me $25, I can give you a tax receipt. The game has changed."
Yeah.
And I remember him taking like a microphone and going, "Anyone wants to buy Jane here a cocktail who's celebrating charitable status, please feel free." And getting charitable status was definitely changed the game. And so 2003, was really when Can Fund, like that was when we went into Athens and funded the majority of the team. And we've
Right.
kept that record. So
So amazing. I just like, ugh, I just like, I'm like, so many questions. Where did the donors come from? What, you have so many different initiatives going on. Like the women, and like every little thing that you do is always thinking about the athletes. Like, where do you find the people to help?
I think, magic. I think the campaigns we've created, I don't know any athlete who wants a handout. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's anyone I've met that says like, I'm doing this, people owe me. It's actually the opposite. I feel like most athletes don't share how much they need. And
Yeah.
so I feel like the campaigns we've created have been really impactful for the
Mhm.
donors,
Mhm.
right? And that just
Mhm.
happens to be supporting Canadian athletes. So the Can Fund 150 women that you mentioned, the women supporting women, it's women across the country giving $150
Yeah.
to be a 150 woman, and then they get to be part of this membership. So
Mhm.
our youngest 150 woman is 8, our oldest is 88. And we
Amazing.
have over 5,000 women now. Our goal is to get another 5,000 by the end of the games in Paris. But we've created like Be Epic classes and parties, and we have a Be Epic run that starts. So we built this really great community of women,
Mhm.
and some of them join and they're like, who am I helping again? I'm like, oh, you're helping female athletes. When they
Yeah.
join, they get a tax receipt and they find out which female athlete they're helping. But it's turned out that most women are like, how can I be part of this community of women that
Mhm.
is, Dr. Roberta Bondar, moms, CEOs, like it's this collaboration of women who
Yeah.
just want it to be better for
It's
female athletes in this country.
so
Um,
amazing.
Monthly donors. I think we've always been about, I feel like Can Fund does our best work when nobody's watching and cheering. That's when we
Mhm.
care. Like when the
Mhm.
games start in Paris, we're done. We'll start funding the winter athletes now.
Yeah.
And so our monthly donors, they give $10, $20 a month. And they just love being part of the journey. They
Yeah.
want to help people get to where they want to go and not really about the medals, et cetera.
Yeah.
We have a pregame meal where you can have a dinner at your house and invite your friends and family, and we invite athletes to join. So all of our campaigns are about the people,
Mhm.
like, and the athletes just happen to be the recipient. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's trying to let people know that these athletes need money for better equipment, travel, all the
Yeah.
things that an athlete need, coaching. The majority of athletes go into debt representing Canada. So giving them access to be able to help someone achieve their dream, but at the
Mhm.
same time, building a community that is very proud to be Canadian, very wanting people to achieve success has been, I think, there's 86,000 charities in Canada, and we have to make people care.
Yeah. And it's not, and it's such a, I mean, such a great feeling to give to the athletes, because if someone does understand, and I totally can see how, like, I've given back to Can Fund and other athletes have given back to Can Fund, because we know firsthand how hard it is to be an athlete in Canada. I mean, we are a gigantic country with a smaller population than most, that are as vast as us. And it's just such a struggle to do what you love and what you're passionate about, and hopefully, like, also inspire other people. But knowing that struggle of financial burden behind it all is a challenge. But also, as you were saying earlier, like, we don't always want people to know. And
Yeah.
so I think you're, like, such a great avenue for that, vulnerability, to be able to share when the grants, applications come out, that people are really honest with what they share with you,
Yeah.
that they may not feel comfortable sharing with anyone else. Like that one athlete having $5 in their pocket, like going to world championships. That's not uncommon for Canadians. Like, it is a struggle out there. And so for you to to just put your heart on the line every time and hear potential no's for donors is just amazing. And could remind me, as to when Camp Fund started, how much did you donate for athletes? Like, did the money go to the athletes? Because it was like 5,000 and now it's 8,000.
Yeah, I mean, we celebrated our 20th anniversary, and we thought, okay, the cost of living has gone up so much.
Yeah.
I think athletes are paying more now for what to compete on the world stage than ever. It's
Mhm.
called project fees, which means team fees, which means you're paying to compete for Canada.
Yeah.
To go back to what you said too, 905 athletes just applied. And there is this trust we have with the athletes. Like they are very vulnerable with us. We just had a call a few days ago where we funded 10 athletes going to Paris,
Mhm.
and we had six sports on the call. And once the athletes start sharing like the reality, and the other athletes start sharing the reality,
Mhm.
there's that fine line between, I don't really want to repeat what they've said because there's this trust,
Yeah.
but I feel like if Canadians really knew, that synchro outfits, or like our artistic swimmers are paying $1,000 for their swimsuits, or
Yeah.
athletes are paying team fees. And I think the challenge we have is really getting people to see the return on their investment. Like when the games start and the world watches, what's that cost? And we
Mhm.
basically say that athletes make $96 a day. That's what they live on,
Mhm.
with all the math we've done. And so sometimes I say to Canadians, like, just give $96. That's your ticket to watch the 16 days of the games.
Right.
But we do give athletes now $8,000 twice a year. So athletes can apply as many times as they want.
Mhm.
Many athletes have got it 3, 4, 5, 6 times in their
Mhm.
career. It's really cool. We're just the last call we just had, there were some first time recipients.
Amazing.
And they're like, we're part of the cool club now. And I'm like, oh, that's how you see it. And then there's other athletes, actually, we just funded a female athlete, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I had to reapply. And I'm like, don't you ever apologize. And she's a 3-time
Yeah.
Olympian. And she's like embarrassed that she's applying. I'm like, and the cool thing is, and this is when athletes apply, they fill out the application. So we see
Mhm.
their financials, we see how much their sponsors are. And we ask them, like, if you got Can Fund, what would you use the money for?
Mhm.
So it's very transparent.
Mhm.
I think the athletes, again, they're just so grateful that someone believes in them, and
Yeah.
they use the money for what it's supposed to be used for, which is amazing. Like at this level, they're, using it for better nutrition,
Mhm.
gas to get them to training, an extra training camp, an extra competition, bringing your coach. Like
Yeah.
one athlete we just funded, she's like, my coach isn't part of her federation, so she's bringing her coach to Paris.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think once, like, I mean, it's so amazing to watch the Olympics because I've, like, the last couple I've been, like, a fan of, and not at, which is super
Yep.
different for me. Um, but I do think that it's so important to get those, stories and understandings and struggles out there because these are Canadian heroes that are, like, influencing the next generation, and if people wanna get into sport, they have to understand that it's expensive, and it's unfortunate that it's expensive and it's challenging, um, but for athletes to be vulnerable and share those stories, I think is like a next step almost, because it's scary, um, to be like, "Oh, I actually don't," like, for instance, I don't even have a snowboard sponsor, like, I'm gonna have to pay $600 for a snowboard, and I'm on the national team, or I have to pay team fees, and a lot of people, I think, get the idea that once you're on the national team, you have everything paid for.
Yeah.
And me being on the Athletes Council, for Canada Snowboard, and also knowing about other national sports organizations, and as you said, like project fees, team fees, like it's not like blue sky, perfect world, yet, I think, in Sport Canada and, all national sports organizations, but there's room to grow, and you are literally helping people on the way get to where they need to be and should be on that stage, on that world stage. So it's absolutely amazing. 905 athletes For Paris?
So 905 athletes applied at our last application. So that's a combination of summer and winter. So
Yeah.
able-bodied and para.
Yeah.
So we have 150 left to raise for Paris. We
Okay.
just we try to fund as many as we can, right? So we have
Yeah.
funded, and a lot of these athletes, this is their third time getting Can Fund on their journey to Paris.
Yeah.
And then the minute the Paris Games start on July 26th, we transition to winter athletes. So we have, events happening throughout the country, but here in Toronto, we have our space turns into Maison Can Fund. And I mean, I never go to the games because it's when everybody cares. So I'm madly calling people or doing parties to raise money because there's a lot of winter athletes now left to fund. And now it'll be a year and a half out to their games, right? Or their world championships. I mean, we're not all about the games, but World Cups, world championships. So it never ends.
They have to qualify.
They have to qualify. and that's what I care about. Like, I want to, the more people qualify, like I always say to people, so few people wear the red and white.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they give so much back. Mm-hmm. Like they inspire us. So I'm like, what's that what's that return on your investment? Like, is it becoming a monthly donor? Is it being a woman and giving $150? We have companies that adopt athletes, and then we have, people who call us and say, I'm going to give my United Way, or I'm going to give we have lots of larger donors who just believe in what we're doing. Like one of our big donors, Eric Sprott, he said, like, there's nothing makes me prouder than watching our athletes compete on the world stage. And I want to invest in that. And, so I think as a country, we could do so much better. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like what you said, if people don't know there's a need. Mm-hmm. So it's Can Fund, just by us existing, says there's a huge need. These athletes need people to back them. Yeah. And it's so much like you said, like I said earlier, like entrepreneurs need seed money. And when you're up and running and doing really, really well, you don't need people to invest in you. The fact is, though, with Can Fund, most of the athletes, even after their third Olympics, fourth Olympics, they're still struggling. Yeah. Right? There's only a handful that don't apply.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's you're just doing such great work. And I do want the listeners and viewers to understand that the money, this is like kind of one of the only opportunities where the money that you are giving to athletes actually goes straight to the athlete.
Yeah. Like when when they donate, they get a tax receipt and they find out which athlete they helped. Mm-hmm. But we also can go to the point where, people, like a donor could say, well, I live in BC. I want it to go to a BC athlete, or I love rowing, so I want it to go to a rower. But because we have so many athletes applying, we can specify gender, province, sport. We just can't specify a specific person. The CRA doesn't allow us to do that. Yeah. But it's been kind of cool because there's people that just like they love certain sports, and they will say to us, "Oh, we'd love to give an athlete from, track and field." I'm like, okay, well, we had 70 track and field athletes apply. So which sport do you like? Everybody's applying to us. So
yeah. Wow. So there is a need. Let everyone know where they can go to potentially learn more or donate or follow.
Well, yeah. So our website is mycanfund.ca. And our Instagram is @canfund and 150 women. And, a lot of people have said to me, oh, giving funding now for the summer athletes, it won't make a difference. It would make a world of difference right now, because most of them are really in debt. And just giving funding to them now, that $8,000 gives them peace of mind. Again, two of them, like the athletes we just helped the other day, two are now going to a training camp that they weren't going to go to. So the money always makes a difference.
It does. Amazing. I didn't even touch on your husband, Conrad, who played volleyball. I mean, obviously he knows firsthand. He was an athlete. I feel like we're always athletes. And so that's also firsthand where you see and are aware of the impact on athletes and what an amazing human he is as well.
Yeah, Conrad played beach volleyball. He grew up in Kelowna. He's one of 7. So I actually met him in the early days as his agent. I was an agent for about 12 athletes.
Okay.
And I was still like doing that and creating Can Fund and working at TSN and Adidas. And so Conrad, when we first met, I was his agent, and he did pep rallies. He has spoken to over 2,000 kids across the country. He's always been about follow your dreams. He wasn't the best athlete. He sat on the bench all through high school and, went to UBC, and he actually sat on the bench the first year at UBC. And then he ended up winning the Bobby Gall Award and the Athlete of the Year. And, the thing that I've learned from Conrad and a lot of athletes that he mentors is work ethic. You might not be the best athlete, but if you stay at it, anything's possible. And he's, and he cares so much about the athletes as much as I do. Like he's, but differently, because he just wants them to believe in themselves and not give up. Whereas I'm more of a, you're only here once, your dreams are worth it. They're not negotiable. Go for it. So together we're, it's been amazing, because again, like we both do this, like we play full out. So
Yeah. Amazing. Well, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think, again, like I feel like you mentioned it earlier, like, I think as a country, I would love to see us invest more in talent, like academics, music. And I feel like with Can Fund, it's just you're investing in athletic talent. But, nearly every athlete who's competed for Canada since 2003 has been a Can Fund recipient. And I know that the people they inspire, of all ages is incredible. And I think we need more people like that in our country. So, no, thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone who's listening. I'd love to have every woman who's listening become a 150 woman. And I think there's so many ways people can help. And I think that's what, we're always building our community and wanting people to step up. And it's a different ask. Like it's different. Like, again, my dad had 7 strokes and he died of that like at 67. So I'm really passionate about heart and stroke. But Can Fund's different. There's very few people who wear the maple leaf, and these kids do us so proud. Yeah. They bring a whole country together. So that's a different kind of charity, I think.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for all that you do,
Thanks,
all your
Mercedes.
hard work. It's so great to see your face. I know all of the athletes in Paris and that have been on this show. Thank you so much, because they really wouldn't be where they are now without your guys' help and support. If you have the time, I will put in the show notes where you can donate, where you can learn more about Can Fund, because honestly, this money goes straight to the athletes, which is just something that's a little bit unheard of in Canada, and over the top helpful to help them pursue their dreams. So you guys have people to watch at the Olympics and at World Championships and at all of these amazing sporting events. So definitely head over there and check it out. Thank you so much for dropping in, Jane.
Thank you, Mercedes. It's been a pleasure.
Today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.